Hey everybody, I want to talk about something a little bit differently today that relates to recent events, but also this is something that I've noticed over the last year or so. Obviously, the way that artists and fans communicate in every genre is different than the way it's been, let's say, 15, 20 years ago and prior to that. Now, there's always going to be some level of communication between fans and artists, but the things that happen now because of social media are really things that would never happen in the past or would be exceedingly rare. What is acceptable in social interactions on social media rarely, if ever, happen in person. You find that there is a growing number, but a small number, of fans who feel very personally entitled to private information about artists, to having the artists communicating with them at all times. They feel as though because they give a certain threshold of support that might be higher than other fans, that they should maybe have greater access. And there's been some pretty ugly examples of this coming up in recent months with a number of different bands in a number of different situations. Not every one of them is the same, but I just kind of thought it's an interesting phenomenon that's worth exploring. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Being a huge supporter, go right ahead. What I'm talking about is more in the line of an entitlement mindset directed at artists who, although you support their music, I don't think you should feel as though you can exert any control over their lives. You can criticize an artist. Where it gets kind of into crazy territory is seeing things like sharing private personal information on social media, reviewing personal family member social media profiles, sharing personal pictures that you get from those profiles. Fans have shown up at houses, musicians have had to get restraining orders, many such examples of this. Even in the pop world, you see this pretty much every day. I believe people are way too quick to call for someone's livelihood to be taken away or to have a real vested interest in the personal lives and inner workings of an artist. Now look, I'm not saying if an artist shares a post you don't like or agree with, that it's wrong to chime in and tell them you have a problem with it. The issue that I have is when you start calling for them to lose their job. I want to go through a few examples of some things that I've seen in some situations. While they're not exactly the same, I think the same root problem is responsible. The first example of this is a band that's really blown up over the last year and a half, which is a really bright spot in rock music right now, and that's Bad Omens, currently out on tour with Bring Me the Horizon. Their frontman, Noah Sebastian, is becoming an absolute superstar in the genre, and unfortunately, because of that, he has been subjected to a lot of personally invasive behavior from people calling themselves his fans. This is something he has openly spoken about in an interview with Revolver that was fantastic from May of last year. I want to bring your attention to a portion of this interview where Noah spoke about how he feels on social media and what he's dealt with from the fans. It's a wide-ranging interview that goes into their whole story, and I strongly recommend you check it out. I've linked to it in the description. But here is what Noah said about social media. The interview notes that Sebastian felt like he lost control of his likeness and began doing little social experiments at every show, betting friends that if he said a specific phrase on stage or walked to a bus a certain time at night, then some half-truth about the experience will be on TikTok the next day, fueling this fan-constructed version of Noah Sebastian that's increasingly detached from the real guy. He says it almost turned into a little game, but it was not a nice game. It's just proving to myself of how disappointed I am in social media's influence on people. He continues, I know we live in this instant gratification world where it's singles-based and every day someone drops a new song or something. I don't care. If anything, I'm kind of realizing like, okay, what's every other band doing? We should not do that because that's been working great for us the past year and a half. Now look at how they close this. It says he's immensely grateful for his fans and he has dreams of selling out arenas, but one of those screaming faces step outside the venue. He politely asks for his own peace of mind. He says, don't make me or Bad Omens your life, please. For him to convey that in an interview, you just have to imagine how many things he's gone through that he hasn't spoken about that's led him to even feel the need to say that in his relatively young career. Now, that was a conversation from the spring of 2023. Just a few weeks ago, he had a new interview out with Metal Hammer, and the subject of his invasion of privacy also came up again. He goes into even more depth in this conversation. They cover a lot of ground as well. I've linked to it in the description. He says, I don't really see myself as a rock star. I don't even know if I believe in the concept of a rock star anymore. I definitely wish everyone in the world knew me in real life and just knew how boring I was and just how fucking lame I was so that they could, relax a little bit. But that's art, man. Art's powerful. And he actually spoke about what I was alluding to earlier. This happened to him, speaking about people going to his relatives and going on their social media and pulling down pictures of him. He says, I was trying to use my socials and I had to constantly mute them. I got really tired of seeing my own face or seeing a stranger's opinion of me every day. I don't think that's healthy. I've seen these accounts that collect baby pictures of me they find on a distant relative's Facebook and make an entire shrine out of them. It's very one-sided, If there was a female artist that I admired and I had a collection of pictures of her as an underage child, people would probably fucking try to put me in jail. It'd be weird. It'd be extremely inappropriate. It's really funny how selective people are with their ethics. Very well said and very spot on there from Noah Sebastian. Another example of this is really the Slipknot situation with Jay Weinberg. Being disappointed is okay. I was disappointed to see him go as well. But really, the level of personal attacks levied at Corey Taylor, levied at Clown, when we do not have any definitive information about what happened there. Of course, we previously talked about that Sleep Token situation. I just want to be clear, their birth certificates were not posted, but almost just as bad, someone online did say that they obtained their birth certificates as a matter of public record to verify their identities. Really, that's crazy to me. And we talked about the Architects situation. I just want to briefly say, Architects has really addressed some of the dynamics between them and their fans, some of their fans, not even most of their fans, but a portion of their fans who feel really entitled, and also the way that they've communicated. So while they are really attacking Architects, this band has really spoken on this in their music. In a huge twist of irony, their latest single, which was released only a few weeks ago, was about toxic fans bashing the group online. The lyrics of the song Seeing Red, just a few of them, rent-free living in your head, RIP, they commented, I felt it when they said, we only ever love you when you're seeing red. In verse 2, though, he goes, we're like one big family. Gee, thanks so much for the death threat. Do you hear the audacity? You dummies only live on the internet. I bet you the overwhelming majority of his interactions with fans in person are exceedingly positive, and I bet you none of this stuff really ever comes up in person. It's only something you deal with on social media platforms. I would bet that is a thing. I think this ultimately leads to artists feeling less confident in creating art, expressing themselves, however they do that, when they fear being brutally judged, harshly judged, being told that they shouldn't be employed, they shouldn't have a spot in a band. Another example I've seen is with Wolfgang Van Halen. Wolfgang, great musician, amazing on his own, but he really deals with a lot of people just wanting him to play Van Halen songs all the time. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll see some of the crazy things that people say to him about his father, the insensitivity towards him, where people will get angry at him because he doesn't want to play Van Halen songs all day. He doesn't want that to be his legacy. He wants to forge his own path. As always, y'all, these are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're new here, welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button. I'd love for you to stick around.